the hardest pill to swallow, knowing they care, but not enough to reach out. They don't call, they don't text, but they watch. Every post, every move, every little sign of life. It's like they're sitting in the shadows, peeking in, but never stepping forward. And my friends, that's not an accident. It's by design. They had you. They had your time, your kindness, your energy, but instead of cherishing it, they treated it like it would always be there. They played games, pushed your buttons, made you second-guess your worth. And now? Now that you've pulled away, now that you've gone silent, they're watching. Not because they don't care, but because they do. And that's what they'll never admit. Before we dive deeper, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick with me, because what I'm about to tell you, it's going to shatter the lies, flip the script, and change how you see their silence forever. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a store where everything is free. The finest clothes, expensive watches, top-shelf products, all yours for nothing. At first, it feels like heaven, but over time, you stop valuing it. You start grabbing things carelessly, tossing them aside, knowing you can always come back for more. Then, one day, the store is gone, doors shut, lights off, no explanation. And now you're standing outside, empty-handed, realizing you never appreciated what you had until it was too late. That's exactly how they feel when you disappear, when you stop chasing, when you stop playing their game. They thought they could come back whenever they wanted, that you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, checking in. But now they don't know where they stand. And that uncertainty, that drives them insane. See, people don't fear losing you. They fear losing control over you. They don't regret hurting you. They regret that you finally woke up, and instead of stepping up, instead of admitting their mistakes, they take the easy way out. They watch. They lurk. They sit behind a screen, hoping for a sign that you still care, that they still matter. But they won't reach out, because reaching out means admitting they lost you. And that's a hit their ego can't handle. My friends, stop thinking their silence means they don't care. Silence isn't absence. It's proof of their weakness. If they truly didn't care, they wouldn't be watching at all. They wouldn't be waiting in the background, hoping you'll break first. They wouldn't be refreshing your page at 2 a.m., checking if you're still the same person who would have given them another chance. But here's the truth. They're hoping you haven't changed, that you're still the same person who would jump the moment they tossed you breadcrumbs. And the second you show them you're still there, they win. The game resets. And you're right back where they left you. But not this time. This time, you hold your ground. This time, you let them sit in their own silence. This time, you show them what it really means to lose you, because the biggest regret they'll ever have, it won't be the games they played. It'll be realizing that the one person who truly cared stopped caring. Now, say it with me. I do not chase. I do not wait. I move forward. Write it in the comments. Let the world know you're done being watched by people who never valued you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to make sure you never look back again. Number 1. They're checking, but they're too scared to knock. They stand outside the door, looking in, but never knocking, because knocking means risking rejection. They scroll, they watch, they linger, but they won't say a word. They won't ask how you're doing. They won't apologize for the way they treated you. Instead, they sit in silence, hoping for a sign that you're still there, still waiting, still open to letting them walk back in. Because, my friends, they don't want you back. They just want to know if the door is still unlocked. It's a mind game, a power move. If they reach out, they risk something. They risk being ignored. They risk hearing the truth. They risk finding out that you've moved on, that you're stronger now, that you don't need them anymore. And that terrifies them. So they take the coward's way out. They hide behind their screen, watching from the shadows, convincing themselves they still have access to you, without ever having to prove they deserve it. Hey folks, imagine this. There's a cat sitting outside your house. It used to come in all the time, ate your food, curled up in your space, made itself comfortable like it owned the place. But then, one day, you stop letting it in. You close the door. And now it just sits outside, staring, waiting, testing to see if it can still walk back in whenever it pleases. But here's the truth. It doesn't miss you. It just misses the access. That's exactly what's happening here. They don't sit around regretting their choices. They don't lay awake at night, overwhelmed with guilt. No, they watch because they want to know if they still have power, if you still care, if they can still affect you without lifting a finger. Because as long as they know you're still watching them back, still hoping, still waiting, they don't have to make a move. Right now you might be thinking, if they're watching me, doesn't that mean they care? If they didn't care at all, wouldn't they just forget about me? That's the trap. That's the lie that keeps you stuck. People don't always watch out of love. Sometimes they watch out of fear. Sometimes they watch because their ego needs reassurance. Sometimes they watch because they just can't stand the thought of you moving on without them. But watching is easy. Watching requires nothing from them. And if someone truly cared, if someone truly valued you, they wouldn't just watch, they would step up. So why don't they? What's stopping them from reaching out? It's simple. They know they don't deserve to. They know they left without a real reason. They know they hurt you in ways they can't justify. They know that if they come back, they'll have to face the version of you that no longer tolerates their games. And let's be real, some people don't want to fix things. They just want to make sure they still have a way back in case they ever feel like returning. But here's where most people get stuck. You see them watching, you feel their presence lingering, and it makes you wonder, should I say something? Should I reach out first? Should I at least acknowledge that they're still there? No, my friends, no. That's exactly what they want. Because the moment you acknowledge them, the moment you react, you prove that they still have space in your life. And just like that, the door creaks back open, just a little, just enough for them to feel safe knowing they haven't truly lost you. But trust me, if you give them that, they won't walk back in with honesty or effort. They'll take that tiny opening, use it to feed their ego, and then they'll disappear again. And I know, it's tempting. You want to believe that their silence means something deeper. You want to believe that maybe, just maybe, they're watching because they're afraid to lose you for good. But real loss, real regret, that's not silent. That's not passive. That's not hiding behind a screen, hoping for crumbs of attention. Think about it. When you've truly lost something you care about, do you sit around watching it from a distance, doing nothing? No. You fight for it. You do whatever it takes to get it back. So ask yourself, if they're not fighting for you, if they're not doing whatever it takes, then do they really deserve a second of your energy? No, my friends, they don't. And this is where you reclaim your power. You don't leave the door open. You don't play into their silent game. You don't give them the comfort of knowing that their presence, even from a distance, still means something to you. Because the truth is, once you stop reacting, once you stop wondering, once you truly let them feel the weight of their own absence, that's when it hits them. That's when they realize that maybe, just maybe, this time they really lost you. And let me tell you something, they will regret it. Not because they love you, not because they suddenly grew a heart, but because they will know deep down that they had something real and they let it slip away. But by then, my friends, you'll be too far ahead to care. Now say it with me. I don't wait for ghosts. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done entertaining people who only want to watch from the sidelines. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never take you for granted again. Number 2. Their ego can't handle a cold shoulder. Nothing bruises the ego more than being ignored by the one they thought would always care. They thought they had you figured out. They thought no matter what they did, you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, ready to pick up the pieces. But now you're silent. Now you're unbothered. Now, for the first time, they don't know where they stand with you. And that shakes them to their core. You see, reaching out means taking a risk. It means stepping up and admitting they don't have control anymore. It means putting their pride on the line. And their ego can't handle that. They'd rather sit in silence, convincing themselves that they could reach out if they wanted to, but they won't. Because deep down, they know there's a chance you won't respond, that you won't care, that you'll treat them with the same indifference they once gave you, and their pride would rather suffocate than take that hit. Hey folks, imagine this. A gambler walks into a casino, used to winning every game. He plays recklessly, knowing the house always lets him cash out. But one day, the rules change. This time, the stakes are different. This time, he might lose. And suddenly, he hesitates, because before he had nothing to lose. But now the game isn't in his favor anymore. That's exactly what's happening here. They used to play with you without consequences. They could come and go, breadcrumb you just enough to keep you hooked, disappear when it suited them, and still expect you to be there. But now they aren't so sure. Now they don't know if you'd welcome them back. And that uncertainty, that's their worst nightmare. Because, my friends, some people don't chase what they lose. They chase what feels safe. And right now, you don't feel safe to them anymore. You feel unpredictable. You feel out of reach. And that makes them nervous. You might be thinking, but if they truly missed me, if they truly cared, wouldn't they just swallow their pride and reach out anyway? And in a perfect world, maybe. But in reality, their pride is bigger than their emotions. Their need to feel superior outweighs their ability to be honest. And let's be real, some people would rather suffer in silence than admit they were wrong. Because the second they reach out, the second they send that message, they expose themselves. They reveal that they do care, that they have been thinking about you, that maybe, just maybe, they were the one who lost something valuable. And their ego can't handle that level of vulnerability. So instead, they convince themselves of a different story. I'm not reaching out because I don't care. I'm not watching their profile. I just happened to see it. They probably still miss me anyway. Lies. All of it. Because the truth is that they do care. The truth is that they do miss you. But admitting that, acting on it. That would mean handing over the power they spent so long trying to keep, and they can't bring themselves to do it. And this, my friends, is where you win, because the longer you stay silent, the harder it gets for them. The longer you give them nothing, the more their mind spirals. The more they wonder, the more they overthink, the more they start to feel the weight of their own silence. They expected you to break first, to check on them, to cave in and send that, "Hey, how have you been?" message, just to give them the validation they need. But when you don't, when you keep moving, thriving, living your life without them, that's when they really start to feel it. Because here's the harsh reality: they didn't expect you to change. They thought they had you on lock. They thought they could ignore you, disrespect you, and you'd still be there, waiting, hoping, longing for the smallest bit of attention. But you didn't. You flipped the script. And now they're trapped in their own silence. So let them sit with it. Let them wrestle with their own pride. Let them feel the consequences of their own ego. Because if they really cared, if they truly wanted to fix things, they'd swallow their pride and make a move. And if they don't, then you were never dealing with love. You were dealing with someone who needed control more than they needed you. Now say it with me. I refuse to feed their ego. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done entertaining fragile egos that can't handle a dose of their own silence. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never get to play this game with you again. Number 3. They're waiting for you to crack first. They don't miss you, they miss controlling you. And now they're just waiting to see if you'll crack first. They sit in silence, not because they've moved on, not because they don't care, but because they're playing the waiting game. A game they've played before, a game where you've always been the one to fold first. This isn't love, my friends. This isn't regret. This is about power. They're testing you. They're hoping, praying, that the silence gets too heavy for you to carry, that eventually you'll give in, you'll break, you'll reach out first, just like you always have. Because the moment you do, the moment you send that one little message, that small, "Hey, how have you been?" the game resets, and they win. Hey folks, imagine this. You're at an auction, holding the last bid on a priceless painting. The auctioneer is waiting, the room is silent, and the only other bidder, they're just sitting there, staring at you, refusing to make a move. Because the second they bid again, they risk losing to a higher price. But if they sit still, if they say nothing, they know there's a chance you might panic. You might doubt yourself. You might throw out another bid when you didn't need to. And just like that, they get exactly what they wanted, without ever lifting a finger. That's what they're doing to you. They won't text you first. They won't reach out. Not because they don't want to, but because they don't want to lose control. Because right now, they're hoping you still care just enough to be the one who folds. You see, people who play these mind games never come back when you're strong. They wait until they think you're weak. They wait until they sense doubt creeping in. They wait until they see you reminiscing, posting sad quotes, listening to old songs, checking their profile. Because that's their green light. That's when they know it's time to pull you back in. And right now, they're wondering, is it working? Are you breaking? Are you starting to miss them just enough to make a move? That's why they're watching, my friends. That's why they're still there, lurking, waiting, sitting in the background like a ghost that won't disappear. Because the moment you reach out, the moment you crack, they'll tell themselves, "I knew it. I knew they'd come back. I still have them right where I want them. And just like that, you're back in their hands. But let me ask you something. If they truly missed you, if they truly cared, why are they waiting? Why aren't they the ones reaching out? Why aren't they the ones fighting for you? Because they don't want to fight for you. They want you to fight for them. They want to be chased. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel like they can still have you without having to risk their pride. And that's why you need to hold the line. Because I know it's hard. It's hard to stay silent when you just want answers. It's hard to fight the urge to check in, to reach out, to clear the air. But ask yourself, when they ignored you, when they made you feel like an afterthought, did they ever explain themselves? Did they ever make things right? Did they ever fight for you? No. They expected you to deal with it. They expected you to chase. They expected you to be the one who folded first. But not this time. This time, you let them sit in the silence they created. This time, you make them wonder. This time, they get to feel what it's like to be left waiting, questioning, doubting. Because the second they realize you're not cracking this time, that's when the tables turn. That's when the regret kicks in. That's when the panic sets in. That's when they realize they don't have the same power over you anymore. And let me tell you, that moment, that's when they suffer the most. So hold your ground. Stay silent. Let them wonder. Let them feel it. Because this isn't love. This is a game of control. And the only way to win, you stop playing. Now say it with me. I refuse to fold. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done being the one who breaks first. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never get the upper hand on you again. Number 4. They're plotting their sneaky comeback. They don't regret losing you. They regret losing control over you. And now, they're just waiting for the perfect moment to sneak back in. They haven't reached out. Not yet. But don't mistake their silence for absence. They're still there, watching, calculating, waiting. Not because they've moved on, but because they're looking for the right time, the perfect time, to make their move. They won't come back when you're strong. They won't come back when you're thriving, unbothered, moving forward without them. No, my friends, they're waiting for the moment you slip, the moment they sense weakness, the moment you post something nostalgic, something sad, something that tells them maybe, just maybe, they still have a chance. Because reaching out when you're doing great, that's a risk. That means facing the new version of you, the one who isn't desperate for their attention, the one who has standards now, the one who won't just let them waltz back in like nothing happened. And their ego can't handle that. Hey folks, imagine this. A lion watches its prey from a distance. It doesn't charge in right away. It waits, it watches. It lets its target get comfortable, unaware, weak. And then, when the moment is just right, it strikes. Because that's what predators do. They don't attack when their prey is at full strength. They wait until it's vulnerable, until it's tired, until it lets its guard down. That's exactly what they're doing to you. They're waiting for you to feel lonely, for you to start reminiscing, for you to check their profile one too many times. And the second they sense it, that's when they'll drop a little breadcrumb, a late night, "Hey," a random, "How have you been?" just to see if the door is still open. And the worst part, they'll act like nothing ever happened, like they weren't gone for months, like they didn't ignore you, play with your emotions, take you for granted. No, they'll come back like they never left, expecting you to welcome them with open arms, because they're not coming back to fix things. They're coming back to see if they still can. And here's where most people get caught. You'll see that message and think, maybe they finally realized what they lost. Maybe they've changed. Maybe this time it's real. No, this isn't about love. This isn't about regret. This is about testing the waters, seeing if you'll react, seeing if they still have a place in your life, seeing if you're still the person they can play games with. And I know, it's tempting. The moment you see that message, that call, that tiny breadcrumb, it's going to stir something inside you. You'll want to respond. You'll want to believe that maybe this time is different. But ask yourself, if they truly missed you, if they truly cared, why didn't they reach out when you were at your best? Why did they wait until you were vulnerable? Why did they disappear in the first place? Because real love doesn't move like that. Real love doesn't wait for you to be weak. Real love doesn't play games, doesn't test you, doesn't manipulate you into thinking they just needed time. No, my friends, they didn't need time. They needed you to be easier to control. And that's exactly why you don't respond. Because the second you do, the game resets. They get their validation. They get to tell themselves, see, I still have them. I can still come back whenever I want. And just like that, they disappear again. Not this time. This time, you let them feel the weight of their own absence. This time, you let them sit in the silence they created. This time, when they finally gather the courage to make their sneaky little comeback, they find nothing waiting for them. No response, no reaction, no open door. Because the truth is, people don't regret losing you when you let them back in. They regret losing you when they realize they can never get you back. Now say it with me. I don't fall for breadcrumbs. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done entertaining people who only come back when it's convenient for them. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never get another chance to play you again. Number 5. They want to be chased, not to chase. They don't want you back. They want your attention back, because without it, they feel like nothing. They're not sitting there reminiscing about how much they loved you. They're not regretting the way they treated you. No, my friends, they miss something else. They miss the way you used to orbit around them, the way you used to chase, the way you made them feel important, because that's all this has ever been, a game of validation. And now that you've pulled away, now that you're no longer giving them that constant supply of attention, they feel it. They feel the emptiness, the silence, the absence of someone feeding their ego every single day. But don't get it twisted. They don't want to chase you. They don't want to put in effort. They don't want to be the one who has to prove anything. No, that would require them to actually care. And caring, that's not part of their game. They just want you to break first, you to come crawling back, you to remind them that they still matter. Hey folks, imagine this. There's a stage, and they've always been the star of the show. The spotlight has always been on them, and you were the audience, clapping, cheering, validating their every move. But now you've left the theater. Now the seats are empty, and they're standing there, looking around, realizing something terrifying. Without an audience, without someone watching, they're just another person in an empty room. That's why they're watching. That's why they're lurking in the background. Not because they're ready to step up, not because they're ready to love you the way you deserved all along. No, they just want to know, are you still watching them? Because people like this, they thrive on attention. And when you were there, when you were constantly checking on them, texting first, trying to make things work. They knew they had you. They knew you would never leave. They knew that no matter how little they gave, you would always be there, giving more than enough for both of you. And now that you're not, now that you're silent, now that you've stopped chasing, they feel it. But instead of stepping up, instead of doing the real work to fix what they broke, they sit there, waiting for you to crack, waiting for you to miss them just enough to reach out, waiting for you to make it easy for them. Because if they have to chase, if they have to put in actual effort, they're not interested. And I know what you're thinking. If they miss me, why don't they just say something? Why don't they just come back and tell me they regret everything? Because, my friends, that would require humility. That would require risking rejection. That would require real emotions. And they don't operate like that. People like this, they don't chase what they think they can always have. They chase what they think they're losing. And right now, they're waiting. They're hoping that if they just stay quiet long enough, you'll be the one who can't take the silence anymore. You'll be the one to make it easy for them again. You'll be the one to put the spotlight back where they feel it belongs, on them. But not this time. This time, you stay in the audience seat. You watch them scramble, them wonder, them feel the same uncertainty they once made you feel. Because the truth is, they never feared losing you. They feared losing control over you. And the moment they realize you're really gone, that's when it finally hits them. But by then, you'll be too far ahead to even care. Now, say it with me. I don't chase. I am the prize. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done running after people who only want attention, not love. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never get to play with your emotions again. Number 6. If they were happy, they wouldn't be watching. People who are truly happy don't look back. They don't need to. They don't wonder. They don't watch. Only the ones who lost something do. They act like they've moved on. They post like they're happy. They laugh. They smile. They show the world that they're living their best life. But if that's true, my friends, why are they still watching you? Why are they still checking your profile? Why are they still sitting in the shadows, lurking, waiting, hoping to see something that tells them you're not really over them? Because the truth is that happy people don't stalk the past. People who have truly moved on aren't sitting behind a screen, refreshing your page, waiting for a sign that you still care. They don't need to. But the ones who lost something, the ones who know they messed up, the ones who thought you'd never leave, they do. Hey folks, imagine this. You're walking down a road, moving forward, looking ahead. The sun is shining, life is good, and you've got new places to be. But behind you, there's someone stuck at the last stop. They're standing there, watching you walk away, frozen in place, unable to move forward. They won't call out to you. They won't run to catch up. But they will watch, because deep down, they're hoping that at some point, you look back first. That's exactly what's happening here. They act like they don't care, but their actions say otherwise. Because if they really didn't care, if they truly moved on, they wouldn't be watching, they wouldn't be checking, they wouldn't need to know what you're up to. You don't check on something you don't miss. And I know what you're thinking. But what if they're just curious? What if it doesn't mean anything? Let me tell you something, my friends. People don't check up on things that are irrelevant to them. You don't sit around scrolling through old memories of a job you hated. You don't go out of your way to find out what an ex-friend you never cared about is doing now. That's not how human nature works. People only check up on what still matters to them. But here's where most people mess up. The second they realize their ex, their old friend, their past mistake is still watching them, they start overanalyzing. Does this mean they miss me? Does this mean they want to come back? Should I say something? No. It doesn't mean they want you back. It means they don't want to accept that you're gone. And the worst thing you can do? Acknowledge it. The moment you do, the moment you react, you give them exactly what they wanted. Proof that they still have some kind of hold over you. And trust me, they will use it. They'll play it cool. They'll act like they accidentally viewed your story, like they just happened to cross your page. But behind that, there's a mind running in circles, wondering if you're still thinking about them, hoping that maybe, just maybe, you'll break first. Because they don't fear losing you, they fear losing access to you. And that, my friends, is exactly why you keep moving forward. Because the more you move, the more they stay stuck. The more you shine, the more they realize their light went out the moment you left. The more you rise, the harder it is for them to reach you. And one day, they'll realize that you're so far ahead, that there's nothing left to watch anymore. And that is when they'll truly regret everything. Now say it with me. If they were happy, they wouldn't be watching. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done worrying about people who are still stuck in the past. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never get to pull you back into their games again. Number 7. They're praying you haven't changed. They don't want you to move on. They don't want you to grow. Because the second you change, they lose all power over you. They're not hoping you've healed. They're not hoping you've found happiness without them. No, my friends, they're praying that deep down you're still the same, that you still think about them, that you still check your phone, still replay old memories, still feel that familiar pull when you hear their name. Because as long as you haven't changed, they still have a way back in. They don't want to fight for you. They don't want to earn you. They want you to be frozen in time, stuck in the same old cycle, waiting, hoping, still holding on to the idea that one day they'll come back and everything will be different. But let me tell you something. They're not coming back to fix things. They're coming back to see if they still can. Hey folks, imagine this. A thief breaks into a house, takes what they want, and leaves. They don't look back. They don't apologize. They don't care about the mess they left behind. But weeks, months, even years later, they drive by that same house, not because they feel bad, not because they regret what they did, but because they're wondering, is the door still unlocked? Could I still get inside if I wanted to? That's exactly what they're doing to you. They're watching, they're waiting, they're testing the waters. But they won't come back if they think you've changed. They won't come back if they think you've grown. Because people like this, they don't do hard work. They don't fight for things they've lost. They only return when it's easy. And that's exactly why they're praying you haven't changed. Because the old you would have answered. The old you would have given them another chance. The old you would have let them back in, believing their excuses, ignoring the warning signs, making the same mistakes over and over again. But this time, you're different. And let me tell you, nothing scares them more than a version of you that they can't manipulate anymore. Because when they come back, when they send that random, "Hey, how have you been?" message, when they casually slide back into your life like nothing happened, they need you to still be stuck in the past. They need you to feel that rush of emotions. They need you to believe that they're different this time. Because if you don't, if you see through it, If you've truly changed, they have nothing left to hold on to. And this is where most people get caught. You'll see them watching, you'll hear from them out of nowhere, and that tiny part of you, the part that still remembers the good times, the part that still wonders if maybe, just maybe, they've changed, will start to question everything. What if they really mean it this time? What if they've realized what they lost? What if this is our second chance? No! If they truly valued you, they never would have put you in a position to lose them in the first place. And I get it. Growth is hard. Moving on is hard. But do you know what's harder? Staying stuck in the same cycle, watching history repeat itself, realizing too late that the person you waited for never intended to change at all. So don't give them that comfort. Don't let them walk back in like nothing happened. Don't hand them an easy way back into your life just because they're suddenly curious about what you're up to. Because the moment they see you've changed, the moment they realize you're no longer waiting, that's the moment they truly feel the loss. And by then, you won't even care. Now say it with me. I have changed, and there's no going back. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are no longer the person who once waited for them. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never get a second chance to waste your time again. Number 8. When you stop caring, their world shatters. They weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing their hold over you. And now that you're gone, their whole world is falling apart. They thought you'd always be there. They thought they had time. They thought no matter what they did, no matter how many times they pushed you away, ignored you, made you feel like an afterthought, you would always be waiting. But now the silence is real. Now you don't react. Now you don't care. And that's when their world starts to shatter. Because let's be honest, my friends, people don't panic when you cry over them. They don't panic when you beg for answers. They don't panic when you try to explain how much they hurt you. No, they panic when they realize you've stopped trying altogether. Hey folks, imagine this. A musician is playing in the streets. People stop, listen, pay attention. Some toss in money, some nod along, some stay just for a moment before walking away. But the musician keeps playing, knowing that as long as there's an audience, they have a purpose. But then, one day, something strange happens. The street is empty. No one stops. No one listens. No one even notices them anymore. And suddenly, the music doesn't feel the same. The performance feels pointless. And the musician, they start questioning everything. That's exactly what happens when you stop caring. Because as long as you were there, as long as you were watching, checking in, reacting to their breadcrumbs, they felt important. They felt like they mattered. Even if they weren't in your life the way you deserved, they still had space in your mind. But the moment they realize they no longer exist in your world, that's when the real regret sets in. And trust me, my friends, they will try to pull you back. They'll send that random "hey" just to see if they can get a response. They'll test the waters, trying to find out if there's still even a chance they can walk back in. Because they don't miss you. They miss the access they had to you. And the worst thing you can do, give it back to them. Because the second you respond, the second you let them know you still care, you undo everything. You tell them, yes, you still matter to me. Yes, I still think about you. Yes, you can still affect me. And just like that, they get what they wanted. Their ego gets fed, and they disappear again. Not this time. This time, you stay silent. This time, you hold your ground. This time, you let them feel the absence they created. Because when you were crying, hurting, wondering where you stood, they were fine. They were out there, living life, not thinking twice about how their actions affected you. So why should you care now? You shouldn't. And I know, it's hard. Letting go is hard. Moving on is hard. But do you know what's even harder? Staying stuck in a loop, repeating the same painful lesson over and over again, just because you're afraid of finally closing the door. But once you do, once you stop checking, stop wondering, stop caring, that's when everything flips. That's when they start checking. They start wondering. They start realizing that maybe, just maybe, they lost something they will never get back. And by the time they do, you won't even care. Now say it with me. I have moved on, and I'm never looking back. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done giving energy to people who never deserved it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never forget what they lost. So, they thought you'd always be there, but now they realize they lost something rare. Keep moving forward, stay strong, and never look back. If this hit home, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Stay untouchable.